the hiring process and everything it's something that came to you. It was not, I think, given. And I think it's in you to look for the right people and
Yeah,
get into.
I think so. When it comes to, I always think with maybe something like recruitment, it's not a natural forte for a marketer or a communications person. When we recruit onto our teams, what are we recruiting for? What are we looking for? Yes, there's kind of a baseline of certain skills, qualifications, maybe education that we need to think about when we're bringing someone into our team. But I do believe as marketers, our role is very, there is an element of kind of psychological astuteness and awareness that we need to have. And I do think we maybe wear our hearts on our sleeves a little bit more than any other corporate role, just by the nature of what we do. And when we're recruiting in somebody, yes, we're looking at skills, what their baseline is, how talented they are. I always look at talent. I love being surrounded by talented people, and I think like talent is something that you cannot buy. It's just something that's there, that's inherent in somebody, similar with attitude. So in terms of, yes, you can have your degree, your higher diploma, etc. But I do think other marketers, when we see each other, like a marketer when one comes across your plate. So it's talent, it's a combination of things, and of course that baseline of qualification that you need.
Recruitment, what it takes to break into marketing, what is bad for your LinkedIn, how to make your LinkedIn work, everything around hiring and what marketers are looking for when they're hiring anyone in marketing. Now today we have Bridget with us. She hired me 5 years ago. She gave me my break within the marketing industry. She has been the marketing director for various companies within the IT industry, within renewable energy, everything, construction. I think she has more than 15 years of experience. She's from Ireland and she's very special, so stay tuned. I think with marketing, it's such a creative field as well. So it cannot be limited to education or, let's say, the degrees that you have. So it has to be something that is there something that one can do to break into marketing, let's say, from...
I think you just
without
really have to want to do it. I don't think it's, we've both been around in kind of good corporate companies, etc. And, one of my pet hates is everyone thinks they're a marketer. Everyone thinks they know how to do it. Now at the dawn of AI, everyone thinks, maybe it's probably maybe the first department that will be looked at to slash costs, etc. But I do think it's inherent. We have to I do think you need that creative part of the brain in there. The whole field of content at the moment is, our content roles going to become redundant? I think they will, because there's so much that AI can do for us. In fact, when I started out in my career 12, 13 years ago, I probably spent maybe half of my days kind of writing content, writing variations of content, chopping, changing, etc. Now I can, if I have a good kind of prompt into a piece of software and it knows me quite well, we can throw it out within 5 minutes, compared to maybe 4 or 5 hours out of your day. I do think it's something you have to really, really want to do, because not everybody has it. Yes, there is marketing. We do have to have a bottom line. We have to be shown to contribute to the bottom line, whether it's like our favorite time of the months are like end of quarter. Whereas the attribution for the marketing activities, comms activity, etc. So it does work, but I think it will only work if it's inherent in you. If maybe I kind of think were we artists who weren't so talented to be gifted with a mind's eye to be able to paint a beautiful canvas, but our brains work in the other way, where we can kind of come at things a bit left field and see it and channel it, whether it's for commercial kind of benefits or brand awareness, etc. all of those things. So it's inherent, I think.
Inherent. And I think it's also how much you want it. Because if you just go into one thing and then you're just stuck on, let's say, content, because marketing is not just content, it's SEO, it's UX, it's also website management, it's social media. So you can't be limited with your capabilities or with things that you're trying to learn or constantly trying to put yourself out there. Do you think, let's say, for someone who's applying, is a portfolio something you'd look at, or is the LinkedIn profile that'll be the most important part? Or
I look for a LinkedIn profile first because I want to know who you are. Secondly, I'm looking for your portfolio because I want to know what you can do, and importantly, I want to know what you have potential to do.
Okay.
That for me is what I look for. Personally, maybe rightly or wrongly, do I look for a degree? Do I look for, some kind of precursor qualification? Yeah, that's good to have, but is it the be all and end all for that particular role, which, we may have open and we may be recruiting for at that moment? No, not really, because I'm interested in recruiting the right person into my team who has the right attitude and talent.
Okay. So I think it's all like, you can do certifications, you can make CVs, you can make them ATS friendly, but at the end of the day, it's your LinkedIn, it's how you put yourself out there, it's your portfolio, things that you've done. And would you look for specific things, let's say if you're hiring for someone to work for you as a reporting manager, as in a marketing capacity, would you look for particular things? Let's say, would you look some experience within designing, or would you look for some experience within content, or what would be something that you have looked for in the last 5 years that has been the most important part of marketing?
So I think something that we look for in open vacant roles are, we need to take a look at the role first. Is it that we need somebody in to help lead generation activities? We need a different type of marketer to help come in and lead that. Or is it our digital presence and activity that we want to up? There's a very kind of, as Liam Neeson said, a very specific set of skills that you need in order to excel with digital activities. And particularly now with the dawn of, it's not even dawn anymore, we're like way down the line with AI and AI automation and how that all works. So it really does depend on the role itself, which is why it's important to know perhaps maybe the type of discipline that you want to veer into with vacancies that you may come across. Like, is it just purely a communications role? Is it a business development role? I think maybe I'm a bit too pure in my thinking. I do not believe in joint sales / marketing / business development roles. I think they're just most importantly, they're two different types of disciplines, but they're also two different types of personalities. I think it's one or the other. You can't do both. So it really does depend. And you have to know which kind of sector do I want to, or which discipline of marketing or comms do I want to move into? Am I more on the digital side, or am I more on the creative side? You have to kind of be, and it depends as well at the point of your career that you're at. Like for me, I'm a little bit further down the road in my career, where I'd like to think that, I have a good kind of utility set of tools that I can pull into, like whether it's content, whether it's like brand awareness, whether it's public relations activity, whether it's like business development, supporting sales teams, commercial kind of goals, etc. I'd like to think that I've tried that I've have that utility there. But definitely, I think maybe for early starters out in the marketing and comms field, you do have to know where is like what gets me going, like what really gets my engine going, and like, is that communications? What is it? You have to have a clear idea, and I do think that comes across in the whole recruitment process. When you secure that interview with your
hiring manager.
Yes.
Yeah. I think for anyone who's starting, what worked for me was, I had a little bit of design, and then I also had a little bit of content marketing, like not experience, but I knew how to do it. So that combined with your designing skills could get you started, and then eventually you could move into PR or content or website management because that's something you'd be pushed into eventually. So it's rather you learn or be pushed.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You know, and that's such you learn or be pushed. And what I feel is really important is that you bring in somebody who doesn't mind being pushed. If you can push someone in the right way and they want to be pushed, that somebody like that is worth their weight in gold to bring into your team. Like, you have to be able to, you know, just, you know, with somebody who, okay, maybe they only have like 2 years of experience and they've 2 years of experience in a completely different industry, completely different kind of sector than what we're in. But if you can see something in them where, you know, you can, like, they have maybe the kind of crux of what you need to fulfill that role, whether it is maybe some skills around graphic design. Even if somebody's multilingual, if you speak multiple languages, that in itself is a really invaluable skill to have, as opposed to somebody who can just speak one language. So there's lots of different things, you know, that can be kind of molded. Definitely having somebody where you can see there's something there where they definitely have skills, they have a bit of cop on, which not everybody has, and they're willing, like, they want to progress. There's a little bit of a hunger there, and you can kind of push them and shape them along with you. And it's important as well for, you know, let's not just think about the recruiter side here. Like, think of it from you being recruited. What type of company do you want to go into? Do you want to go into a company that just settles for the skills that you have and are happy for you to clock in at 8 a.m. and clock out at 4:30 p.m. Is that the type of career that you want? Or do you want to go into a company where there's other hungry people in there? There's people who are maybe a little bit more advanced in their career, and are you willing to be, like, do you want to be kind of pushed along? Do you want to progress? So it's very much, it depends on, you know, you have to know what you want first and what are you willing to, what type of role and what type of company, and we can start talking about culture of company, etc. after that. But you have to know what do I want? How do I want this to look for me?
Yeah, I think as a person who was starting out, it was always about a company where we'd learn things. For a fresher, it would be always where they could learn things, they could get that room to grow. And when you, like, to coming back to the point where you were talking about languages, every time I see a job at Google, I'd see that they're looking for multiple languages. So it's always bilingual people or people who have more languages in their bank. Like, it's something that's very important these days. So I think company culture is important, but I don't think it's important for freshers because they're looking to break.
We're so hungry. We need to pay for our education.
Yeah. True.
But I would say with that, yes, you know, we all need to make a living. We all need to be financially astute with our roles. But I would never let that make you desperate. We do what we have to do. You've worked in Starbucks. I worked in pubs. I did what I had to do to get by until, you know, eventually the right recruiter saw me and took a chance on me. Yeah. And maybe you feel that way about me. I took a chance on you. But, you know, we do what we have to do. I would never, like, do not let desperateness to do what you have to do, but don't be so desperate where you get into the wrong company and it makes you fall out of love with your skills, with your talent, because it's something not everybody has. Not everybody's a marketer. The sales guys will tell you they're marketers. The product managers will tell you how to market. The CEO will tell you how to market. But no, hang on a second. They don't. Yeah, it's know your worth is what I would say. Know your worth. Do what you have to do in order to get to where you want to be, but don't lose sight of everything kind of in between that happens.
I think, and there'll be signs. I think throughout the recruitment process, you'd know if the company is not right, if this is not going to work out, and it's you need to step back and think.
And you know what, right? If you are a fresher, and yes, okay, maybe you can view something as the culture of the company being right as a luxury. I think what I would do, and I've done it with companies when I was starting out, I have bills to pay, I wanted to succeed, etc. I think what needs to be done is maybe know that, okay, maybe this isn't my ideal company, this isn't my ideal culture, etc. Like all these nice things, all these benefits that that we get with career progression. But definitely do commit and say, I'm going to stick here for 12 months. I'm going to learn what I learn. It might be maybe like miserable. There might be managers who, you know, I don't get on with. Like I had some of my most formative lessons in my career have been through managers who were just really mean and nasty to me, like really mean and nasty. And but the lessons that I took from that, you know, it didn't make me give up because, well, I didn't have the luxury of being able to give up. Yeah. There are lessons that have stuck with me forever, like always leave a paper trail. And well, the funny thing about that was it was the manager leaving a paper trail that got her fired, and then I filled her role after that. So
it was a sign.
It was a sign. Yeah.
I think sometimes you have to stick in and you have to stick it out and
absolutely.
Because never leave a job and then look for one. Always stay in that horrible job if you're not happy.
No. I think leave a job if it's unethical and if they're not paying you. If like definitely leave the job then. But if it's just like a cultural fit or people are being mean to me and this isn't how I would do it, etc., stick it out.
Stick it out and then look for jobs because it's easier to get hired while you were employed than trying to find a job when you
exactly.
Yeah. True, because I think I would never do that. I would try to stick it in, but sometimes there's.
But you've done it. You've stuck it out. I've stuck it out in a role as well where we just had to persevere through the pain.
Corporate crippling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Circling back to, would you say let's say your resume was picked, you've looked at the LinkedIn profile, you've looked at everything that you wanted, and you've narrowed it down to 5 people. What would you look for in the interview? Would it be a mix of technical skills plus cultural fit, or like what are your signs?
I would definitely think if we've gotten down to 5 candidates, we've done our due diligence in terms of, is there a bare minimum of qualifications that we need to meet, bare minimum of skills that we need to meet as well. So do you think if you're down to the last 5 candidates, you are looking for the person who is the right fit for your team?
Is there any particular sign, or is it depends on the company?
It depends on the people. Like people buy from people, and I do think that it's the people that you bring in. Well, first of all, right, you're in a very privileged position if you're a marketer who's recruiting people into your team, because number one, you're part of a company that believes in marketing and believes in communications and believes it makes a difference to the bottom line and contributes to all the areas that you need it to. You can talk about the commercial benefits, but there's also like internal benefits as well for people who believe they're part of something. You can call it a brand, you can call it whatever, but most of all it's feeling that people are part of, and it's narrative that people are part of. So I do think if you're down to, if you make it to that stage after maybe your first round is where you need to be astute with communicating your qualifications, your skills. I can do X, Y, Z. My specific areas of interest are always have some good interesting questions. Like don't just like chat GPT some like what are questions I can ask at the end of an interview. Think for yourself of stuff that you want to know, like just show some personality, I think. And if you're down to, you kind of get past first, second and you're into the third round. At third round then it's really about demonstration of I could absolutely, like there's no question that you can fulfill this role. Obviously you can fulfill this role if you're at the third stage. So what needs to be met at that point is, am I the right fit for this group of people that I'm going into? So it is really about, do they want me to be part of their team, but do I want to be part of their team? And I think the people I've always kind of like brought into roles are people who, maybe there was a few little things missing on their CV, etc., but I knew they really wanted to be part of what we were doing. And that's what got them over the line with us.
Sense. I think we've talked in lengths about this earlier as well, that marketing is an industry that's not taken very seriously, and it's always, you'd see big companies with like 100 sales guys, but there'll be 2 marketers. So that's something we do. that's something that should be looked at, but I think it's happening now that people are putting more resources into marketing, but it's only a few companies that will actually allocate specific funds plus resources within the marketing team.
Well, it's only a few companies where you don't have to go and beg for a marketing budget. I really think that like very much depends on how the experience has been so far. Like there's no question about companies, you need marketing. But how do they view it? Do they view it as, oh, I have a nice brochure, I have lovely pieces of collateral, I have good social media presence. It's kind of almost like a nice to have. But the evidence is there. Companies where there is budget investment, most importantly belief in marketing and communications, are the companies who excel. They're the companies who are, different from they separate themselves from the pack.
We've talked about like your, as an applicant, your LinkedIn, but it also matters what the company LinkedIn looks like, because that's your place. That's how you know what the company is doing culturally, what they're doing for employee engagement, what they're doing in terms of employer branding, everything that kind of brings it down to your choice of if I want to work for them or not. If you're someone who's within the industry and knows what they want, and if you're clear on what you want. And that's, I've been waiting to ask this, but what are actually hiring managers looking to see? So we've talked about cultural fit, we've talked about you wanting the job more than the like anything itself, and then there are things that you can add to your resume, there are things you can work on the portfolio, but overall what would you say is something that the hiring manager would always look for within marketing, like something that would be universal?
Something that's universal is communication skills. That's very universal to marketing. I would certainly not think of myself as maybe an articulate person who's comfortable, delivering town halls or QBR updates, etc., to a mass kind of population. But I do think being able to communicate, whether that's through the written word or verbally, is, that's where it all starts with marketing. It all starts with how can I craft and articulate this value proposition. So if somebody can do that, that's the universal skill. Even if, we were hiring for perhaps a digital role, it's definitely their positioning kind of task is something that I would want to, that I would put forward to candidates. Because if they can't understand what we're trying to do, or even they may not be, of course, we can't expect them to be on the ball with understanding what we do, but even with kind of the amount of information they would have about us as a company at the start, they should be able to kind of formulate and articulate some kind of value proposition, like whether that is in, digital activities or kind of field marketing, they should be able to do that. So definitely being able to grasp a concept and like we work in marketing, it's it depends. Sometimes we get a lot of time from stakeholders and a lot of information to kind of workshop through, but then other times, and these are often the most brilliant times, we get very minimal information and we have to put our spin and our imagination on it, and how do we want this to translate to audiences. So you do have to be able to grasp a concept and articulate around that concept in order to, I think you always need to start kind of like what's the kind of end goal of this, what do we want to kind of capture people with, and you work your way kind of back from there. You do have to know how to articulate, have some idea how to articulate, but ultimately it is having that understanding of where do we need to get from ABC all the way up to HE, etc.
I think, I agree. Communication is a very important part. It comes on in briefing. It comes on in you writing press releases. It comes in content marketing. Taste is also very important because you can have all the knowledge, you can have all the experience, but if you don't have taste, you won't have people coming in and liking it, or people coming in or following, or it's not for lead generation. It's for the visibility of the brand. And I agree. Communication is something that's really, because when I learn anything from you of a project that needs to be done, I need to be able to brief the designer, or if I'm the designer, I need to be able to go from A to Z.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there any kind of like takeaway that you'd have for anyone who's applying, or any kind of wisdom that you'd like to pass on?
Well, I don't know about wisdom. I think you know me a little too well to know sometimes I'm wise, but most of the time I'm not. I think my takeaways would be practical in your application process. Like, do you think about, have I actually got the skills, qualifications, and requirements that this role requires? And then from that point onwards, you know, just know what you want to be part of. Bear in mind your kind of career stage as well. Is it this my first serious role? Am I on to maybe my second serious role? So I would definitely say, like, come into it kind of very practically minded first, of course. And of course, I'm not a recruitment person, but you know, you have the standard tips there about, you know, if I see a role on LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is definitely the platform right now where, you know, that's good for applicants and for companies. You know, take a look at the role, then take a look maybe at the company, the people within that company, like maybe it's the hiring manager, the recruitment person, etc. Reach out one-to-one. You know, really try and separate yourself from the pack if it's something that you're super interested in, because you'd actually be amazed how little people do actually bother to try and separate themselves from the pack. They think that I'll attach my CV, I'll attach my generic cover note, and sometimes, and that's fine, but maybe it's just you need to think one step further about what can I really want this role. I like this role. I could see myself doing this. I like the package that comes with this role. So how can I separate myself from the pack? You know, do you think like that? I would say, but without being like, don't be a stalker either.
It's too much. Don't be too much.
Like, know the levels. Be a marketer. Like, own your own brand first. If you're really a marketer, if you're really a true marketer, you're going to have your own personal brand. So sell that personal brand.
True. I think I saw recently there was a job opening at the company that I work for, and it's an FMCG company. And the best part about this CV that I saw was, so we had 40 applicants, and this person had his resume like a menu. So it was everything from front shelf to below the shelf to above the line to below the line.
Wow.
So all the keywords, and it was amazing. It was pizzas, pancakes, it was everything. So I think it's how you put yourself forward, how you separate yourself from the crowd.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for watching. So we're doing this series now on how to land a job in Ireland. It's on my channel already. So if you're someone who's looking for jobs and you don't know where to start, do follow, watch the videos. See you again next time. Hi guys, we know that, you know, like when you're applying for jobs, it's really disheartening when you're not hearing back, but it's a process that you have to give it time. Keep applying. Don't feel sad if you're not hearing back. It's something you'll get the hang of it. Like, the initial break is really hard, but once you get in, you get in. And I hope this was helpful. Now today we try to cover everything from our way. There's a cultural fit, there's an educational experience fit. So companies sometimes it's just bad timing as well. So you don't know what's going to work, what's not going to work, but keep applying, put yourself out there. It's going to happen for you. We're going to put a lot of videos on this channel. We're going to try and cover everything from immigration to education to recruitment. So stay tuned. There's going to be lots more happening. I hope you enjoyed the video.